9 p.m., November 29th, 2022. This is a special meeting of the Guam PUC. All commissioners are present with the exception of Mr. Pangilinan and Mrs. Perez Camacho. First item on the agenda tonight is approval of the minutes of September 22nd, 2022.
Motion to approve, subject to corrections.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? The motion passes. Next item is approval of the minutes of October 27th, 2022. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve, subject to corrections.
Second?
Second.
Joe seconds. All in favor say aye. The motion carries. Next, GSWA docket 2302, petition for approval of the award to Pacific Human Resources Services for temporary staffing services. Do we have an ALJ report and a proposed order? Is this you, Fred?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. In this matter, GSWA filed an amended petition on November 17th. The amended petition is now supported by GSWA Board of Directors Resolution number 2023-005. So the contract in this case for temporary staffing services would be with PHRS, and that is a private company that connects job seekers to businesses for temporary or contract work. Since October 8, 2009, the federal receiver at that time, Gershman, Brickner, and Bratton, entered a written contract with PHRS to provide temporary workers to supplement the agency's staff and fill the positions of sanitation workers, heavy equipment operators, and other jobs. The temporary workers are not GSWA employees, but employees of PHRS. These temporary workers were and still are essential to the day-to-day operations of GSWA. Over the years since 2009, the contract with PHRS was extended and renewed with the approval of the District Court of Guam. The latest renewal expired on September 30, 2022. On June 30, 2022, GSWA issued its invitation for bid for temporary staffing services. There were only two bidders, and PHRS was determined to be the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. Based upon PHRS's bid, the Board of Directors of GSWA determined that the contract award should be for a term of 3 years, beginning October 1, 2022, and ending on September 30, 2025. Subject to the availability of funds, the contract will be paid from GSWA Operations Fund at a cost of $2,002,000, broken down as follows. Year 1, $1.1 million. Years 2 and 3, $451,000 each year. On November 17th, the award was approved by the GSWA Board of Directors in its resolution. As to the contract review protocol, at $2 million, this contract is in excess of the threshold of $750,000. The proposed awarded contract must be reviewed by the PUC. For the project description and scope of services, those are indicated in the invitation for bids. The contractor will provide GSWA with temporary staffing services, which include all employee evaluation, recruitment, retention, processing, and releasing services for the term of the contract. Also included are payment of employees and administration and maintenance of all employment and payroll records. Looking at the invitation for bids, the two really main positions for which GSWA needs employees is sanitation workers. Those are the people that take the garbage, go to villages on a daily basis, and it's hard, difficult work. There are 29 positions there that were indicated in the IFB, and equipment operators, 5 positions. GSWA has established the need for this PHRS contract. On April 12, 2022, it issued a determination of need for these services. GSWA stated, GSWA has acquired the services of a temporary staffing agency since 2009 to fulfill essential job positions. Due to the nature of the work, GSWA experiences high employment turnover rates for the laborious positions and finds the constant need to replace personnel. GSWA has attempted to recruit for these positions through the Government of Guam recruitment process, which has proven to be inefficient and has found little success. The use of a temporary staffing agency is necessary for GSWA operations. In its initial petition, GSWA contended that the temporary services procured by the contract with PHRS are essential and critical to the day-to-day operations of GSWA, most especially the positions of sanitation worker and equipment operator are physically laborious and hazardous to health. In its IFB, GSWA originally sought to have the bidder provide sanitation workers, equipment operators, customer service representatives, administrative assistants, and a buyer. However, in its amended petition, GSWA indicates that the only positions covered will be the employment of temporary sanitation workers and equipment operators. There are a number of beneficial improvements to the PHRS contract. So when there was one contract contemplated when the first petition was filed, but then in the amended petition, GSWA really changed the nature of the contract. The initial contract provided that the cost of the contract would be $2 million for the initial 3-year term, plus an additional $4 million for 2 additional 1-year options. So originally contemplated at $6 million over 5 years. Now, as a result of the amended petition, GSWA has also shortened the term of the contract to 3 years rather than 5 years. The cost of the 3-year contract will be roughly $2 million, a reduction of $4 million in cost. It may be speculation, but it seems that GSWA is attempting to reduce the scope of this contract and hopefully later at some point arrive to a point where such a contract might not be necessary. Effective January 2, 2023, the positions of customer service rep and other administrative employees will be ended and removed from the contract. Thereafter, the only positions covered shall be limited to the remainder of the term to the employment of temporary sanitation workers and equipment operators. So I think it's a very good faith effort by GSWA to reduce costs, to benefit itself and the ratepayers. This contract now will decrease cost, shorten the term, and reduce the number of employees that PHRS will hire. These measures, I believe, are in the interest of GSWA and the ratepayers. As far as GSWA's authorization to enter the contract, GSWA has broad powers under 10 GCA, Section 51A 104, number 10, to control and operate the solid waste management system and to ensure that it is compliant with any applicable zoning, building, environmental, and health regulations of Guam. Furthermore, GSWA has the power to enter contracts and execute all instruments necessary or convenient in the exercise of its powers. This contract is clearly based on necessity. It is necessary. Without the contract, GSWA has demonstrated that it would likely be unable to carry out its functions due to the inability to hire sanitation workers and heavy equipment operators. In addition, the Director of Administration approved the temporary staffing services contract on April 13, 2022. One could debate about the desirability of hiring non-government employees, but GSWA has really made strides here, and I think strong efforts to reduce the number of employees sought under that contract, and has really operated in good faith in the situation. So for those reasons, the ALJ recommends that the PUC approve GSWA's petition and authorize it to enter into the temporary services contract with PHRS and to expend for that contract the sum of $2,020,000 in accordance with the year 1, 2, and 3 breakdowns indicated in the GSWA petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Any comments from GSWA this evening?
bid request where we are now. When we put that hours together and the staffing, we were down to basically 3 trucks. We couldn't keep 5 or 6 going. So we were looking at probably double shifts of the 4 to 5 days, maybe even collection on Saturday. So that's what the staffing level and the cost. We've since put more trucks under intense maintenance, so we've got basically 5 to 6 reliable trucks. We're looking at maybe reducing the double shift Wednesday, Monday, and Tuesday. So that's why we reduced the number of hours for the temporary service. But as of right now, until we get our full complement of 10 trucks, still to get our complement of 10 trucks, this temporary labor contract is really necessary. And those trucks, for all intents and purposes, won't be available until very early 2024 with the delivery schedule.
Go ahead, Steve.
Can you just elaborate on the truck situation? You have 10 trucks that are coming out. Are you saying that the contract PHRS is providing trucks as well as personnel?
Just the labor.
Just the labor. So and for the 4 trucks that you have currently.
We have 5 working trucks. You approved last month the purchase of 3.
Right.
Those will come in hopefully July. And we're going to put those in. If we have if we have the current 5 still usable by July, that's going to help out tremendously. And that may even eliminate some of the double shifts. But I don't know that right now.
So the existing contract, this is a 3-year contract. Do they allocate for those additional drivers and staff for the new trucks when they come in? Is it already part of this existing contract for the $2 million?
The $2 million accounts for the sanitation workers, both the helpers and the drivers.
Even when the new trucks come online?
Right, but we will look at that in July as to, if we do need to keep the 3 double shifts that we have right now. Right now, we're thinking we could get by with 2.
And then is PHRS here? I'm just curious, you guys have been doing this since 2009 states. What's the turnaround time, or what's your turnaround like when it comes to sanitation workers versus if they work as lawn workers? What's your turnover like?
So based on, my name is Vincent Leon-Guerrero, I'm the VP for PHRS, and based on our experience since we started in January of 2021, the availability of people in the private sector, that's been a challenge over the past couple of years. to try to recruit people, especially when you're offering that's close to just above the minimum wage. So part of the contract, the IFD, requires that we offer the wages under a wage determination rate. So we believe that with those in place, we will greatly improve the recruitment efforts. Right now, we're competing with everybody else for a job that most people don't want to do. Most of the workers begin at 2:45 in the morning, and they work a 4-day work week, and they'll work until about 1:30 in the afternoon. Again, subject to the need to do extra shifts and vehicle breakdown. So our turnaround depends on, the month and whether or not there are other jobs that's going on, and whether we're competing with everybody else for the same pool of people who do minimum educational requirements and minimal job requirements.
So part of the contract is you're responsible for filling those voids.
That's correct.
Those people.
The advantage that we have, of course, is the ability to hire and to employ them at will. So if there's an issue that arises at the agency and we need to take administrative action, that administrative action is on the private side, not on the GovCom side.
Right.
So that's one of the things that we have been told by management at GSWA they really, really need is the ability to quickly pivot and hire additional people, or quickly pivot, and because of disciplinary measures, need to pull people offline or remove them.
So you're basically paying your incentive is to pay them at a higher scale to come in and to try to keep them.
With the new contract, with the wage determination, we will be paying at minimum $15 an hour, plus the mandated wage benefits, the benefits of $4.80 an hour.
Right.
Yeah, so we believe that right there will give us the attraction to recruit a better pool, and to even have like a ready pool of substitutes ready to go should somebody be sick, call in sick.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Go ahead, George.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say, finally, GSWA advertised on this contract, as that has been an ongoing finding since 2011. So thank you for finally doing that, getting rid of this so-called sole source. Following up on the questions of Peter, the other workers that you originally wanted, which were the customer service representative, the administrative assistant, did you hire those under GovGuam?
Correct.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why. So
Yeah.
how many employees in total do you have under GovGuam?
As of right now, 33.
So you have approximately half and half.
Correct.
Yeah. Half under GovGuam,
Right now,
half.
35 temporary, 33 permanent.
In the letter or the memo from Director of Administration, they said they had 2 qualified applicants for sanitation worker and 2 equipment operators. Did you folks interview those folks? Did
Yes.
you?
So the memo to Director Byrne was like March or February this year?
February.
Yeah. So, yes, that was what we were experiencing at that time. Since we did the 2-step increase at GSWA, we've had better luck in recruitment and advertising. But that was the situation with the old pay scale.
So that was my next question. With PHR increasing to $15 an hour, what is GovGuam paying?
First of all, I'd like to make a correction. The number of government employees is 38.
38.
And 38, and currently we have 35 temporary employees. So what I did was I compared the rates, the new rates with GovGuam wages to include benefits.
Yes.
And they're pretty compatible.
Oh,
And again, Guam, depending on which health insurance plan, as you know, the family plan,
yes, it's very expensive.
if they have that, then it's slightly higher than the PHR rate. But if they have, sorry, it sounded like a frog, a single rate, then it'll be slightly lower. So the average is pretty much the same.
Okay. Because, with no offense to the private sector, sometimes, Guam does offer health insurance leaves and, a 401k type of, which might help. So at least the initial hourly rate is comparable.
By the time you include benefits with Guam,
No, just the basic hourly rate, forget about the benefits. Is it comparable to around $15 an hour?
pretty much, I believe it's like 28,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Oh no, I'm sorry, 26,520. That's the base pay. Oh, I need a calculator. Okay.
You mentioned about $15. You mentioned it's like $15 plus then they added the $4.
Yes. No, but if the starting pay is about the same, then the additional benefits under GovLong are better.
But then they give it to the individual.
Yes.
On top of that. But of all things being equal, this is one less headache that the GSW has to manage because of the type of work that's out there. So what PHR is doing, I applaud you guys for doing the contract work like this and being able to fill that quick enough. Because, nobody likes to see their trash not picked up. So thank you.
And this is a question to PHR. Since you've had this contract for a very, very long time, by chance, do you have any employees that have been with you from the very beginning?
We've had a couple that particularly work at the transfer station that have been with us from, I believe, since 2009.
Okay.
And for the most part, if they like the job, they like the working environment, they like the relationship with management there. And the management there is very, very supportive of the difficult work those workers put in, day in and day out. So I believe it's not because of the pay, but because they like the work environment.
Well, it's good to know at least you have a couple that have been with you a long time.
And also, I would like to say that a number of staffers that are GovCom employees started out
Yes.
as
Oh.
PHRS employees.
That was going to be my next question. Thank you. So you recruited from them when you went to GovCom. And then just one other thing that kind of puzzles me and it kind of bothers me, Mr. Chair. This contract period is from October 1, 2022, and we're now almost in December. So I don't know if this is an approval or a ratification. And I guess the question is, how come it came so late? Yeah, because we're 2 months into the contract period. That's the part that bothers me.
Actually, this matter was originally supposed to be heard last month.
I know.
But then it was changed, so that's a part of it.
So my question is, have we gone along? Has Guam Solid Waste been in the new contract period even though PUC hasn't approved it? Was there any notification to PUC due to an emergency? Or we're approving a contract after the fact? What's our role? So rather than it being approval, it's probably be a ratification. Well, it's been going on for 2 months without our approval. That's my point.
not ideal, but it's also not unusual for contracts to be signed after the effective date. And I'll give you an example, which is something I've also discussed with solid waste, is the Government of Guam healthcare contract. The Government of Guam healthcare contract, the final signature is the governor herself. And over the years, by the time that the contract winds its way to Avalon, the fiscal year has already started. At this, right now, and I'm not sure whether the healthcare contract for this fiscal year has yet been signed. As former legal counsel to Governor Elifaza Calvo, I can tell you that I have seen contracts appear on his desk, healthcare contracts, 2 years after the effective date. So in other words, these are expired contracts, and they are still winding their way, finally to Avalon. Is that the way it should be? No, but that's just how sometimes it falls. It does not. It's always been the opinion of the Attorney General's office that as long as the contract has made its way into our office by the end of or before the end of fiscal year, so in this case before September 30, that we would accept it. Now, this body acts as the governor for Guam Solid Waste contract. Their contracts are not signed by the governor because they are not a line agency. Instead, they are approved by this commission. So you act in place of the governor. So just to kind of give it a perspective, if the healthcare contract is with the governor and she signs it in December, it would still be a good contract. It's already been still going. And if this one is in front of you today, it would still be a good contract. It's not a retro or anything. It's just what we call, what the court calls nunc pro tunc, which is Latin for retro to the prior date. So nunc pro tunc. Nunc, N-U-N-C, that's one word, pro, P-R-O, tunc, T-U-N-C. And these guys are doing this, they've seen it many times. The court will sign a court order today but it became effective sometime in the past. And it's again, not always ideal, but sometimes the reality of getting signatures, that's what happens. So, but I leave it to the body to decide if it wants to accept it as of today, or we are asking if that you recognize it beginning October 1 versus if you approve it today, November 29. And at that point, what would happen is that all the services that have been given by PHRS, that money is still owed to them, but it would be under the prior rate. Yeah.
I'm just really more concerned about the disciplinary action and for us to tighten up and for agencies to be aware to give us a few more months ahead of time before the end of the day. I understand the necessity of the contract, and I'm not here to say no to the contract. It's just doesn't look good. You're asking for our approval and you have already been 2 months into the contract. That's what I'm
Are there any other comments? If not, is there?
Yeah, no, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to approve GSWA docket 2302 for approval.
Okay. Is there a second? Pedro seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Everybody's an aye. Unanimous. Thank you, GSWA. Have a Merry Christmas. Next next item is GPA docket 2302, petition for approval of engineering procurement and construction management contract with Stanley Consultants. We have an ALJ report and a proposed order. Is this you, Anthony? Or Joe Pett, this is you? Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this matter is before the Commission pursuant to a November 4 petition for approval of an engineering procurement and construction management contract, also known as an EPCM contract with Stanley Consultants, Inc. And as this Commission is familiar, the EPCM has been long involved with the new power plant project from the beginning. The contract's work has included preparing the procurement for the new power plant, assistance with the land acquisition, rezoning efforts, among other activities. And so back in June of 2021, GPA petitioned the PUC because its current contract was expiring for approval to procure a new EPCM contractor that would provide the same consulting and engineering services related to the construction and commissioning of the new power plant and develop procurement for the infrastructure required for LNG at the new power plant. The PUC approved GPA's request, and then GPA issued an RFP which solicited proposals for this new EPCM contractor. And according to GPA, the RFP was canceled because of a lack of open competition. The RFP was issued again in March of this year, and thereafter GPA's procurement team ranked Stanley Consultants highest out of 4 proposals that were submitted. After looking at the proposed contract submitted by GPA, the parties have made it clear that this is a task-based contract where GPA will call upon a task and negotiate a price, scope, and schedule with Stanley Consultants. Stanley will also provide a technical review of the power plant and pipeline documents, which include construction drawings, equipment and technical specifications, design criteria and construction plans. And during the construction phase of the new power plant, Stanley will provide regular site inspections to confirm project progress and performance of certain contract obligations. Stanley will also monitor the construction of the pipelines and will manage the projects through weekly and monthly meetings. Stanley is also primarily responsible for the provision of engineering and design services, procuring contracts with suppliers and contractors. As GPA's agent. They will manage the construction phase of the project, serving as GPA's construction manager, and as much as Stanley will supervise and coordinate all the suppliers, construction contractors, and other contractors doing work at the project. With regard to the contract, it is for an initial 3-year term with an option to extend the contract for an additional 2 2-year terms. When we looked at the contract contains a termination provision that allows GPA to terminate the contract for convenience. It contains a standard indemnity provision requiring Stanley to indemnify and hold GPA harmless from any claim, lawsuit, or liability related to its services. The contract also contains a prohibition on the assignment of the contract without GPA's consent. and it requires Stanley to carry appropriate insurance and licenses to do its work in Guam. According to GPA, it estimates the budget for the contract as follows: about $2.2 million for fiscal year 2023, about $2.8 million for fiscal year 2024, and about $1 million for fiscal year 2025, for a total cost of about $6.2 million for the initial 3-year term of the contract. Specifically, the work contemplated under the contract will include program management, which ranges from $157,000 to $223,000 per year. On-site project management presence, which ranges from $217,000 to $723,000 per year. Technical reviews from $116,000 to $278,000 per year. And assistance from other consultants in its team for procurement support, ULSD Consulting, environmental and civil work monitoring, which ranges from $27,000 to about $169,000 per year. GPA has indicated that this contract will be funded internally through its revenues. And so based on this record, Mr. Chair, I found that the subject contract is reasonable and necessary, and that based on this history with an EPCN, these types of contractors are vital to its successful commissioning of the new power plant to ensure that the power plant is safe and efficient. And on this record, I recommended approval of the EPCN contract with Stanley Consultants at the price indicated by GPA.
Thank you, Joe. John, any comments on the contract?
Oh, okay. That's what I couldn't even hear myself. Thank you, Commissioners. As we all know, the wind power plant is very strategic to our reducing our costs. The LEAC today is 31 cents. When the new power plant comes on the line, for the same fuel prices, the LEAC is going to go down to about 15 cents, 50% of what it is today. Furthermore, we did bid out the power plant, and we have very specific specification requirements. No? Of course, the KEPCO is going to have to do its best to make sure that the machine works, otherwise they're not going to get paid. However, at the end of the day, this machine is going to be ours, and it's going to run for as long as it could, because it's probably one of the last power plants we're going to build. Jennifer here is our manager of sport, and she's actually been the one making sure that the construction, all the way from the beginning, the procurement, the contracting, the construction goes on well. In addition to that, she handles all the procurements that come through here for fuel and pipelines and tanks. All the renewable bids, phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's all under her hands, and much more. And I need to provide her help because we have a substantial issue of a lot more employees are retiring. We're losing them to the DOD, and we don't have experienced people anymore to handle the complexity of this job. So therefore, that's why we did come to yourselves for the EPCM, and thank you very much. We went out, we had to go out twice because of technical reasons. And so we have here today actually a task force about a $6 million cost over for a period all the way up to, again, February 2025. The power plant will be on the line somewhere around the mid of 2024. The rest of the time, we'll scale down, making sure we have all the issues, drawings, things, and various things addressed to make sure it's all completed. But Jennifer doesn't have enough people to handle. We've hired several young engineers. Actually, when I say several, maybe almost 10 already. They're in the training process and all of that. But we don't have the capacity anymore to keep up with this. To give you a perspective of $6 million, the cost of fuel, just the differential I mentioned to you, is about $500,000 a day. The new power plant at today's prices will save $192 million in fuel costs. $500,000 a day. 6 million divided by 500,000, 12 days. So if we don't have the capacity to approve the drawings, to keep them going, and not delay the construction, then every day there's delay. They can claim against us, and therefore it's at our expense. So it's really in our interest to move forward. I'm happy to say that the power plant is about a year, around 30% on its way. Most of the big products are down at the port, waiting for a permit. We're trying to get it out of the DPW so that we can move it up, no? And then the last of the Mohegans, the big equipment will be coming in around February, March of next year. That's the combustion turbines, the steam turbines, and all of that. So that by April, most of everything is moved up to there. So, prisoners, we do really need this. I didn't have the heart to say, no, Jennifer, you have to work harder. We need the expertise to make this happen. So that's what we do for you. And it's a task order. It doesn't say we're going to spend all these $6 million. That's what is needed. Case in point, the pipeline, and you want to say something, Jen, it's okay, but the pipeline that was going up in Mitchell, what did they find? Unexploded ordnance. We want you to dig, and make sure that there's no other ones. So we have to negotiate, hire somebody to go ahead of their game and try and find, making sure so that these guys can continue to dig in the pipeline. That comes out of this. Any of those additional expertise that we need to accommodate comes out of this. So we don't believe we'll see this contract. And again, it goes all the way up to February 2025. And the whole purpose of this is to try and make sure that this machine comes on in time. That's what I am, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, John. Yeah, I see the work going on up by my house all the time with the pipe fund. There's quite a lot of progress up there. At the site itself, making good progress also?
Yes, in the last month, I think I provided some information. I'll provide the GM report. Every month, in the GM report, we update the progress. So now the steel is going up on the buildings, the tanks, the plates are coming up already. The foundations are being completed for the combustion turbines and all that. So yes, they have been moving even before the financial closing. And now that the financial closing is there, they want to get this job done as quickly as possible.
And the 3 turbines coming, are they moved basically as one unit, or are they in parts also like the steam turbine?
I think they're coming as a unit.
One unit. Yeah. Okay.
They're not that heavy, not as heavy as the one you're seeing that's heavy is the boiler.
Yeah.
So they cut the boiler into several pieces just to get it in.
Yeah.
So that's why there's 2 boilers. The combustion turbine comes like that. The steam turbine will come in several pieces. That's the heavy. The steam turbine for that plant is about the same size as Kairos 1 and 2. Kairos is 66 and that's 62.
Yeah.
That's real heavy steel.
And that's here basically right now for the most part.
No, that will be coming around the March of next year.
But you do have quite a few components, I guess, that are already here.
We're preparing all the foundations. the electrical building being constructed, because of course you have to put in all this electrical, and then following the drawings, blah, 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 moving along. So yes, it's moving, and again, we just need the help to continue to set. Jennifer, that's not the time in the day but she does it in all the meetings, she does manage the whole project. That is, that's why I'm asking for help for her.
Okay, thank you, John. Thanks, Jen. Any questions from the commissioners regarding this?
Just a few.
Go ahead, Pete.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So just to clarify, John, this contract is, it's a consulting contract to do not the actual build out of the actual pipeline. This is just the drawings and expertise to get it. And it's just the LNG pipeline?
No. The LNG is part of the task that part of the RFP, which allows us to be able to task Stanley. No? However, the pricing is before you does not include an LNG study. We're gonna negotiate that. We have some work to do with them to accomplish that. So this is all just the construction of the power plant and the pipeline.
But you're building both pipelines now.
We're building both pipelines, yes. But the update of the LNG study that was done back in back before you to request the approval of that amount. No? So,
for the LNG.
but the RFP includes where Stanley can do it through even hiring its different consultants that is appropriate for the study itself.
Right. Okay. So this is design and study.
And this is design, construction, management, any additional assistance necessary to ensure that from the owner's perspective, the power plant is being delivered as being.
Peter?
Congratulations on the new task. That's a very task for the people of Guam, but it's also makes Guam better because of the reduction of the cost too. And I think any further delay on this project is going to be very costly. You see in the newspaper, any procurement is paid costs money, and nobody wants to pay up. So, if I may, I would like to make a recommendation to approve.
That's the question.
Okay, good.
Go ahead, Doris.
Now I'm confused. Did you say that this you're building two pipelines, one for diesel and one for LNG?
That's correct. It's being built concurrently and parallel.
So, because I thought LNG was off the table. That's why I'm confused.
No.
LNG is not off the table. It's always been that the procurement of the combustion of the 198 megawatt must have the capability to burn ultra low sulfur diesel and natural gas.
I see.
And so, with that, it is prudent to make sure that we construct the pipeline also, so that we don't have to go back digging 2 times, no? And it's a less cost to do it that way. The next phase now will be analyzing where, based on the previous study that was done, where's the best location for this? What is the market like now for LNG? How do we go out and have a separate contract for LNG? And then for the storage and gasification facility, there's 2 ways to go there. One is to do a land-based tank, do a tank, and the other is to have what we call floating storage and gasification facility, which is a ship that stores the LNG just like it's shipped in, and then it turns it into gas, and then you tie that pipeline to through the existing pipeline that we're constructing, and then you send that up that way. So what you're sending up will be gas, and not any liquid, that. Where this thing being done is in Malta. Maybe the PUC could go and take a look at that in Malta. Because there, the power plant, coincidentally, I didn't know, coincidentally, what's that mean? Anyway, is 198 megawatts. Is Siemens, and that's been running for years now. Then, right outside, they have a dock, and they have a ship that's supplying the LNG. They come, unload it to a ship, and supply it. So that's why if you look at the presentation I had, there's a ship in the picture. That's an actual ship here at Malta. So Malta is an island like Guam with about 500,000 residents, no? But they also have a undersea cable to Italy, no? And as a result of that, they can export, import from there. Us we don't, but again, it's going to provide us the hits, and there's two factors that will come into play. First, one is if and when we go to LNG, the annual cost that we're paying the contractor today under diesel will be reduced by $11 million a year. That means that because of the clean gas, the maintenance on the machine is much less. So there is in the contract that once we do LNG, right off the bat, we save $11 million. Then we have to work on saving between the fuel and diesel. And natural gas has always been lower than diesel. So that's why when you look at the presentation, we could reduce that 15 cents down to the 10 or 11 cents a kilowatt hour if we go to natural gas. But I like to say there's no decision made, although that decision doesn't have to be made today until we get and then. Right now, I won't make the decision today because of all the flux in the world, no? So that would be something that we'll try and work out next year.
So, John, let me ask this question. Once you decide either diesel or LNG, then you have to stick to that product for the life of the plant, or can you switch?
No, that's the whole beauty of this, is that you're now diversified to two fuel sources. The plant will initially be fired on diesel. And so the two storage tanks that's being rebuilt down in caverns will hold all the diesel we need for those power plants, right? And then if you go to LNG, then you have a source of LNG on the ship, if you will, no? So you can burn either one at any time.
I see.
So if fuel prices are lower for natural gas, you burn natural gas. Then burn diesel. The other difference, real reason also for diesel though, is that if there's a typhoon that comes, we have to take that ship away from the typhoon, right? So when it's away from the typhoon, you're now burning diesel. And once it's clear, you bring it back, and then you're back to natural gas. So now you have the flexibility of two types of fuel, plus the renewable contracts of 1% hedge. Now it allows Guam the beauty of working, having the capability to best control its energy costs and sustain it lower, making it affordable, and again, maintaining it, sustaining it over the long term. The more we get away from oil itself, will work out best for us. So that's the whole plan. And again, all of this decision on natural gas, we will have to come back to the commission.
Because building the storage and all that other stuff is going to cost initially.
That's right. But then the savings that was estimated is after you consider shipping and the cost of the product. Let's talk before this flux, no? The cost of the product may be about 4 or 5 cents. And you talk about shipping and everything, that's about 2 cents or so. And then you talk about the infrastructure for the ship and all of that, that's another 2 or 3 cents. So you're up to about 10 cents a billion BTU. No? If you look at diesel, even at $90 a barrel divided by $90 a barrel divided by 5.75, no, that's what, 20-some dollars versus the $11 per million BTU. So there is still a huge potential of savings, but we have to rerun those numbers. No? And yeah, that's a happy problem. That would be a happy problem once we can get the new farm.
I have just 1 or 2 more questions. Is Stanley Consultant your only consultant on this, or do you have other consultants? Closer,
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So Stanley Consultants would be the main contractor, and they do have subcontractors under them, which includes EA, K&M, PON, which have a little more specialized experience or backgrounds to help with this type of project. But they are the main
They're a
contractor
sub-
for.
So the subcontracting, is it part of Stanley's contract,
Yes.
or is it in addition?
It is part of this contract.
So Stanley is your main contractor?
Yes.
I mean, your consultant, rather?
Main consultant as our owner's engineer, EPCM, for
Mhm.
the power plant.
And then also, I see that it's being funded from revenues. This was not a cost factored in the bond?
We were remember the part of the money that we utilized for the construction of the power plant was from the insurance proceeds for Cabras 1, 3, and 4. We received 125, of which about 80 ended up being for a capital project. But what we spend for rehabilitation of the storage tanks, that's about $14 million one time. And other additional projects, the conversion of PD8 and 9 to ultra low sulfur, that's another 15. That all came from the insurance proceeds. So we're down now where we're gonna have to use some revenue so as this cash comes back from the under recovery and other things, and as we save more from which we have been from our base rate, that cash now is the revenue that we're going to be utilizing to do this.
So is this $6 million an additional cost to what you already have for the cost of Oakwood? Or was this because you're now coming in?
This would be the new contract cost for the first 3 years.
So it's in addition to
What we've spent for the
For
past
open.
5 years.
With the pipeline, we're also spending, we're going to pay for the pipeline, $40 million once it's completed and
Right.
we're carrying over. So all of that has been part of the monies that we've had from the conversion and other things. So the question is the contract of KEPCO increased? And the answer is no. Is this additional cost to GPA as a result to get this project completed? And the answer is yes.
Okay. So maybe it's too soon to ask this question, but approximately what is it all what's the grand total approximately for the whole kit and caboodle?
Okay, let's talk about that. 550, 600 plus.
Or maybe that's a cost for another
No, we can
discussion.
provide that, but I'll just give you a round number. No?
Okay.
I hope it's wrong. 600 plus 40 for the pipeline is 640 plus about maybe 10 million for this one, 650. So maybe around 650 to 675 million.
For the Okudu and all the related stuff.
That's good.
Over 25 years.
Over 25 years.
Mhm. pay separately for that.
We pay every year a capacity fee of about 40 million and an O&M fee of about 29 million.
So we'll be paying 70 million
A year.
to quote own it and operate it.
No, to own it at the end of 25 years.
Yeah.
Just like case in point, MEC 8 and 9, we were paying about 35 million per year. About 15 to 20 of that was capacity fee, about 15 was O&M fee. So after 20 years, it turned over to us, the capacity fee went away, or like your mortgage payment, if you will, and all we're left is the 15 million. And that's what we have. When you compare an 8 and 9, that's 88 megawatts. You know? This is, what, more than twice that. So when you're talking about 30 to 35 million times 270 million, we're in line with the two. But the big difference is this one will save us hundreds of millions a year, pay off 70, and then still have money to put back to the ratepayers. Yeah. So that's
Eventually,
that's the
yeah.
difference.
That's the plan.
Yeah, that's the plan, eventually. I'll see it when my bill goes down.
Of course.
Okay.
And I stand here and I keep telling everybody the proof is in the pudding. I give them
I won't be able to taste it until a couple of years from now.
walk through the numbers, take a look, predict it if you will, but the answer is all there.
Yeah.
So I have no doubt in my mind. And I'm not a betting man, but you know.
You'll bet on this?
If you want to bet, I will, but
That's what I was just telling you, bet on this.
that's not what I'm asking for. I'm not a betting man, but I will.
Okay, thank you very much,
Just
Sean,
to
for that update.
sorry, just to emphasize here, you know, my professional opinion is to that, and it's already, you can see it.
Hey, just a couple of follow-up questions, John. So when you mentioned earlier that they're building this side by side to say for the digging part, right? They're putting both pipelines in, one for the ultra sulfur and one for the LNG. And you know, my sister lives in Porter Ranch, right? And so P&G had this big mess up where it was LNG is gas, so they just didn't capture the methane properly. And then they ended up having to evacuate the entire town. I mean, all the housing people and put them up, right? So there are methods out there, more and more coming out on how to capture methane at the beginning and the end, right? So, two questions. One is, the consultants are responsible for identifying and making sure that from a safety protocol, right? Because we also had campus 1 or 2 and 3 and 4 had that issue where one went down and took down the other one. So I'm just concerned that if something happens to one part of the pipeline, if it's the liquid nitrogen, does it take out the other gas line as well? And do they have measures in place to prevent that from happening?
It's very, you would expect that gas pipeline is very remote and everything to have a problem and explode like that. And the diesel, again, they have a leak to that. So, no, there is distance, there is spacing as engineered. So I think we'll be fine. I don't expect that to be a big
And then
problem.
the last question is, you know, since it's gas, if you're going from a ship and we're not storing it, we're carrying it in, the pipeline goes from, are we starting at APRA Harbor? Are we going to NCS, coming up that road? Is it going to be more closer to Oakadu, the ship?
Some guy named Zong Inventor is thinking it's going to be right along the entrance of Apple Harbor, on the left side.
That's where the hope is to bring it to start.
And then tie in the pipeline to the fuel oil storage tank, at the fuel oil storage tank,
it's not wasted gas, it's just.
No, this is already contained gas in the pipeline.
Okay.
You shouldn't have any leaks. Not like when you're flaring.
No, but as you push from the ship up, does gas get stored in the pipes? And as you use it, we will have like a
Yeah,
buffer.
you'll be constantly.
It'll be like a tank on its own.
Constantly pressurized.
Right.
You're pushing LNG at first for a short distance, and then you go to a regas plant to,
So the LNG stays in the ship, and then through just the heating or the exposing it to atmosphere, the air, right? It starts to turn to a gas,
Right.
and then it's compressed from through the pipeline with a certain pressure to bring it up to Okudu, and continuously, depending on the usage, the more the higher the load, the more gas you're using, and keep firing it that way.
Okay. Thank
There's
you.
no, there will never be like a dead stop unless you're not going to burn them.
Right, that was the concern, we wanted to make sure that we didn't waste it. Thank
There
you.
won't be any waste.
I take it you only have fuel in one pipeline at a time, depending on what the fuel source is going to be to burn at the plants. The second pipeline would probably be empty of any fuel at that time.
You probably still, depending on the values in the crop, you still going to have some fuel in the other one, but
Not very much.
No, no.
Yeah.
And again, from experience, you have to pressurize the diesel from the storage tank to get up, past your house limits, Mr. Chairman, close to 700 psi.
Yeah.
It's a huge pressure. Then it starts flowing down. Then when it's not pumping, then that pressure subsides. So you're opening up in the morning.
Thank you,
So
Tom.
yeah, it's interesting and very challenging, but it's very doable.
You're up to bat, Pedro.
Thank you for the verification, John. It was very interesting. But anyway, I'd like to recommend that we approve GPA docket 2302.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next item. GPA docket 2303, petition for approval of property insurance contract extension with DB Insurance Company. We have a PUC council report and a proposed order. This is the best dressed man in the room, Mr. Anthony Camacho.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So,
Sorry, Fred, joke back.
I learned it from my former boss and mentor. So essentially, this particular contract should be a familiar one to the members of the commission. And there's some good news, there's a little bit of bad news. Let's start with the good news. So this is not a sole source contract, and this petition essentially GPA asking the PUC to approve the second one-year extension of GPA's contract with DB Insurance Company Limited through its local agent and insurance. Now, the reason I said that the PUC should be very familiar with this contract is the prior contract expired on November 1st of 2018. Before the expiration of that contract, GPA, back in March of 2018, essentially got approval from the CCU to issue a IFB. The PUC approved that IFB. I want to say it was around April or so of 2018. GPA essentially issued the solicitation. They only received one bid. And that bid was from DB Insurance Company through its local agent, AM Insurance. Subsequently, the CCU approved the contract. The contract had an initial term of 3 years. Each year was estimated to cost about $4.3 million. And it had 2 one-year extensions. Now the PUC back in 2018, which was October 2018, approved the first
for the initial term of the contract for 3 years, $4.3 million per year. Now, that initial term expired, and essentially prior to the expiration of that term, around October 26 of 2021, the CCU approved, subject to the PUC's approval, GPA's exercise of the first one-year extension for $5.7 million. On October 28th of 2021, the PUC approved that first extension for $5.7 million, which essentially expired on November 1st of 2022. And that's the end of the good news. Now for the bad news. Okay. So essentially, what we have here is they're asking the PUC to approve the exercise of the second one-year extension, but this time for about $7 million. So this is a contract that is historically kept up. So it's a higher price. The second piece of bad news is essentially this shares the same issue that we saw earlier in these proceedings with Guam Solid Waste Authority. The first one-year extension expired on November the 1st of 2022. This petition was not filed until November the 4th of 2022, this despite the fact that the CCU had approved the exercise of the second one-year term for $7 million on or about October the 22nd of 2022. So here, although the PUC would be within its rights to deny this, I would recommend it doesn't, at least not for that reason, and here's why. It just keeps getting better. So GPA's on, GPA needs this contract, and the PUC has already found in its prior proceedings concerning it that GPA's bond indenture agreements require GPA to secure and maintain property insurance on all facilities, basically against risk of loss or damage to the extent that the insurance is obtainable at a reasonable cost. So if the PUC were to say, no, you didn't meet the timeline, you didn't get this to us before the end of that first one-year extension, essentially GPA would have to issue a second solicitation. And if you look at the timeline in 2018, it took approximately 8 months from the time it was approved to get the solicitation out, to the time we got a bid, to the time the CCU approved that contract, and the time the PUC subsequently approved. For that 7-month or so period, if that took that long this time, GPA would be in technical default. And that would be rather serious. That would be a lengthy default further. If we had some catastrophic incident, GPA's facilities would not be basically insured, and the ratepayers would be stuck paying the bill. So neither event would be a good thing for the ratepayers, any technical default for the bond indenture, nor would having such valuable facilities go on for such a period of time without insurance coverage. Now, unlike, I don't know what the facts entirely were for Guam Solid Waste Authority, there was you can call it a preliminary approval, that was by the CCU, and it did say we approved subject to the PUC's approval. So we had that leg to stand up, and certainly if the PUC wanted to, it could deny the petition on the ground that it would be untimely. GPA has never justified or shown cause why it could not have brought this before the PUC earlier, prior to that November the first expiration of the first term. Nonetheless, although you could do that, I caution the PUC against doing so. I recommend, as I stated in my my report, that essentially the PUC approved this. And the reason for that is, despite those technical shortcomings and despite the increased cost, I do find that although the price has risen steadily to $7 million, so has the risk. The cost of the insurance is always commensurate with the risk. Further, I find that the contract extension is prudent. Essentially, the award of the new property insurance contract would take a lengthy period of time that would likely result in GPA basically defaulted on its bond indentures. And finally, I find that the contract extension is necessary. This is where this is a must-do, essentially because the bond indentures require it. Technical default would not be in the interest of the ratepayers. And on that, Commissioners, I have provided a order where if it was approved, the petition by GPA would be approved. Thank you. Subject to your questions.
Thank you, Anthony. John?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, this is one bidder. We've been one bidder for years. Every time we try, of course, because why? Getting underwriters and insurance to underwrite our needs is very difficult. So we did get 3-year plus 2 1-year option, and we didn't have problem in getting PUC approval and getting the numbers ahead of time. If you see in the resolution, it's 7.1 million. We did that because up to that time we still didn't have a number for the insurance. And why is that? Worldwide events on insurance has really impacted the industry, including COVID and stuff in England, no? So furthermore, there are major players on the insurers of our last year or the current contract before it's not expired. It's not technically, we'll talk about that a little bit. Did not have gotten out of the business. So London had to scramble to try and get more underwriters interested in underwriting the insurance capacity that we need. So hence, what did Mr. Kim and Mr. Beneventi do? We ran to London and did 9 presentations in 2 days, talking to all the different insurance underwriters, trying to convince them that we are a good risk. That, I would like to say, worked because we did get a number. The initial number that was given to us, of course, because of all the insurance risks in the world, people getting out, that was 7.1 billion, 41% increase or so. The last word we got is that this was 6.7 million. But they didn't get all of that until just here in November, to everyone to underwrite all the amounts. Our first payment on this is November 30. So we still have, well, that's only get to tomorrow, right? All right. Well, anyways, we're here before you. We have no choice, if you will. We try our best. We ran to London. We tried to figure this out. And normally, we're ahead of time for scenarios like this. Next year will be, this year, next year, so I don't think that time, we'll be out to the market again. And historically, it's always been one bidder, although it's never always been up. It's come down in several places. So it really is really associated with the impact of the industry. And London has been hit hard, and we went there and did that presentation, coupled with the fact that we did have a Cameras 1 and 2 explosion, no? So that did help us. So we had to go on, yeah. And so that we had to go there and really work hard at it. And so I'm just happy we have insurance, and it is lower than the 7.1 that we had the CCU approved, so that we can get this to yourselves in the interest of trying to get this at least by November 3rd.
Thanks, John. So the actual cost is 6.7? Okay.
6670979 and 72 cents.
Okay. Very good.
We need to modify that in the order.
We could, essentially, we could approve it up to that amount. Of course, if it's less than the amount, then that's it. But I know that the CCU, that is the amount they approved, subject to your approval. So technically, that's the amount that should go there, unless they're going to file an amended petition. But that would further delay these things commensurately. Thank you.
No more than 7.1, because this is the final number. This is what we're going to pay them on the
Time is up, it's down to, so the contract will stay at 6.7, correct? Okay.
But I know that we had, the reason why you're here also is because of the contingency that's in place, right? I think it's the 20%, or is it 10%? 10% or 20% above that they get you know?
20.
20, right? So it's not exceeded, and so we're at you. So now we approve it at 7.67. I'm not even going to go there. We'll leave it alone. Thank you.
Just for clarification, even at the $6 million rate, that does exceed that 20% amount, which is, I want to say, 3.7 million.
Right. No, it's something that has to, I mean, I was going to ask what was the reason for the increase. Obviously, we were at 4 or 5 million before, now we're almost at 6, almost at 7. And I remember we had some issues in the last year, similar to this, where the insurance numbers, the premiums keep going up. And I remember that there was I think it was like an asset reclassification that happened somewhere along the line where the overall, I think GK was underreporting at one point, and that's why when they finally looked at the total assets, they had to get a premium for that total amount. And that was one of the reasons why insurance went up, right? Because of the additional assets that are coming on board.
Yeah. It's not that we under-recorded our assets, it's that we incurred more assets. So we have so we added PD7, we added Jingle Diesel, because that became GP assets. And we also included the batteries. So those were changed.
40 million. So we did have an increase in.
So in addition, the rate per dollar, the rate did increase every year. And for this year, what happened is due to the inflation rate, we had to readjust our asset value. So that means because our insurance based on replacement value rather than the net book value. So what they said was either we increase your rate or you readjust your valuation.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Doris?
Just have one question. And I meant to ask this question previously. In the CCU resolution, I've always just been seeing 4 ayes. Isn't the CCU a 5-member board?
No, Mr. Francis Santos resigned and took over Guam DOE as the interim superintendent.
Oh,
So therefore, we were left with 4 commissioners.
okay. So how many, you had the election
election, so how many do you have now?
Well, we still have, as of today, we still have 4, but beginning the inaugural swearing in is January 12th. We will have 5 again. Commissioners Sanchez and Limpialco and Santos were re-elected.
Francis Santos?
Correct.
But you said he resigned.
He resigned for the term that he was, the remainder of the term that he was in. But then he did run again.
He was reelected.
And was re-elected.
He resigned before his term ended. So that's why you had 4. Okay. And so he'll be back again come January. Okay. Thank you.
You could
resign again.
No, but right now, officially, he is working for inauguration and for January. But you never know. Right? But I think he loves to work with the CCU.
Right.
So just as a point of clarification then, why he resigned because he was the acting superintendent?
He resigns because he can be in the commission involving a government employee.
Oh,
And
that
our
was my
legal counsel
question.
is right back here.
Okay,
he's
that was my
actually
question.
saying that right, no?
Yeah. So you can't be, all right, so that was the reason for the resignation.
That's for him to take over as interim superintendent.
Okay, so you had to resign. Okay, thank you.
So was any of that increase due to,
Is it dead too?
So is any of the increase due to increased assets from?
Yes, about 7% was due to increase in asset value.
And the next question is, for next year's IFB, when is that going to be out?
We have a draft ready. We'll probably give it to the board in January for review. So hopefully by January we'll give it to the CCC. No, it's not December yet. So yeah, about next month. Yes.
It's a bid to go out by February or March.
So that we can attract the one bidder back.
And again, that's traditionally that's been the case because it is very difficult to get underwriters.
Right. No, I understand.
The
The market
tough
is tough.
business, and I mean, even we have to go out and work for it, you know.
No, I understand. Yeah, it is. Especially with the 3 and 4 issue.
Yeah, and also remember the typhoon, the hurricanes that are occurring, and we're not the only ones that have equipment.
The insurance industry is feeling it.
Yeah. So this one major, like a 30% underwriter, pulled out a new one of the gate for this coming year. So we have to, everyone had to scramble to try and find and replace these underwriters.
John, are other utilities having the same issue, or is it only because we're on an island?
When we talk to London, everybody's having the same problem.
Is it, this insurance the only one insuring all the utilities, or?
No, the market we're using is London, so the London market is insuring us. We do have local markets, but I think we have county insurance and the loan TV insurance covering it. I believe the percentage is about close to 50%. The rest is from London.
The rest of London, historically, that's about the only place you've been able to getting it into our riders. And so,
Thank you.
Actually, any delay again in trying to get this contract approved, which will be costly. I recommend that you pay docket 23 that go through for approval.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Pete, seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Just one more thing, John.
at the NARUC meeting just a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about our under recovery issues across the nation. Oil is that factor, right? So, I was kind of embarrassed to say that we were near $40 billion, and we're like, we're all over like 150 million right now. Like, okay, well, Guam's not doing so bad then.
So yeah, and it's 40. We went aside 47, down to about 41. We haven't seen the November numbers with the increase from the 29 points down to the 31. Which I think from looking at the projected numbers that we're looking at is showing now a recovery.
I think, weren't you showing that it might approach 8 million in the hole
Right.
by the end of the
Showing a
next
recovery, and
period?
based on the projections that the fuel prices and all these things whole are under recovery, could be as low as about 8 million by July 31st. And so that'll be great, and let's hope that things stay well over the next 45 and even get better. And so then that will help everyone.
This is all based on oil being the same price today.
That's right, and at least not going wild the other way. The next thing is the public hearing is tomorrow for two bills, very similar, if not identical to, except for funding source. To extend the program, Mr. Lapi, for another 5 months, beginning December 1st, all the way to April. So I'll be testifying in that and giving them the numbers as to what it is. So this also help us because we get that cash right up from paying the oil, and then we put it in everyone's bill.
Yes, I'd just like to mention something about under recovery. How much do we have in our fuel tank? Dollar-wise. It doesn't get refilled until the next shipment. So, that amount in the fuel tank is recovered. You don't have to answer that. Look at that way. Because, this is the car. And the gas is food. It's food,
I would assume that it takes some time to get from the time you order. I mean, in my business, if I had a bunch of $2 million of inventory in my warehouse, I have to order $2 million before that even sells that work, right? Because you want to make sure it goes out and then it gets refilled.
I understand.
Without stopping it. So
I understand that motion, but the issue is we collect every day, like a bill, every time you get a party. It doesn't have to be answered today, it's just a question. That is confusing me, why we're not accounting for the value of the fuel inside the fuel tank that was not being used. Until we use it, that's when we use it. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Along that line, sorry. What is your,
Doris, your mic.
your tank? When do you have to order? Every 2 months or 3 months?
No, there's actually a couple with, so for the regular diesel, we're bringing it once every 30 days. As for the our flow is about 50 to 60 days. And right now it's almost 50.
The regular diesel is the one up in the 1906 and 1907. So what it is it's really actually a 2-month supply. So you burn 1 month when you're coming in with the other one, you always have 2 months supply. And then the cappers that was mentioning, that's only it's limited number of tanks now and only containing 0.2. So that's about a 2 months supply also, which again it's expensive.
okay, we already approved it, so goodbye. Happy holidays, and we want Miguel up here.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Merry Christmas. Well, thank you, Pete.
Right after Thanksgiving, right after Thanksgiving.
Happy holidays, guys.
Next item is GWA GWA docket 2301, petition for approval of procurement for rehabilitation of the Ugum surface water treatment plant. We have an ALJ report and a proposed order. Fred, is this yours?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. The Ugum water treatment plant releases surface water to serve Guam's southern water system. The Ugum plant treats the Ugum River water and then pumps the river's water into storage reservoirs to serve the island's southern residents. The plant was originally constructed in 1991 and retrofitted and modernized from 2007 to 2010. Today, the Ugum plant operates a membrane filtration treatment system. Based upon GWA's master plan from 2015 and 3 assessments by professional engineering firms, that includes Brown and Caldwell in 2015, DuPont in 2021, and most recently Duenas Camacho and Associates, DCA, in 2022. The aging plant's existing equipment and systems need major infrastructure improvements and refurbishment. The 2022 DCA assessment concluded that the plant is currently in operating condition, but requires significant rehabilitation work and materials to continue providing safe drinking water to GWA customers in southern Guam. I provided you with a portion of the DCA report that went through each of the elements of the plan and indicated what specific repairs were required. The plant's present condition limits its capability, operability, and reliability. GWA seeks PUC approval to procure construction, services, and material in support of the needed Ugum rehabilitation. In support of its petition, GWA has provided a detailed estimate of the cost for the project and the services needed to be performed. The total cost estimated is over $4.626 million. On November 15, 2022, GWA submitted its draft procurement bid documents relative to the Ugum rehabilitation. As for the contract review protocol, the GWA protocol requires that all professional service procurements in excess of $1 million be reviewed by the PUC. Based on the cost estimates received of an excess of $4.626 million, this procurement must be approved by the PUC before the procurement process is begun. As to the need and justification for the procurement, DCA conducted an assessment of the Ugum plant from June to August 2021. Based on its assessment, DCA prepared a scope of work and a cost estimate of the needed capital improvements to the Ugum plant and the raw river intake facility. The DCA report includes findings of failing equipment and equipment beyond repair requiring immediate replacement. The Ugum rehabilitation services include rehabilitation and upgrades to the raw water pumps at the river intake, rehabilitation and upgrades to the settling basins, membranes, pipe gallery, generator room, backwash, neutralization tank, sludge tank, thickening system, operations and chemical building, and administration building. The Guam CCU has concluded that the Ugum plant is, quote, a critical water source which provides water to much of southern Guam. The proposed rehabilitation is necessary and urgent to improve plant capacity, treatment performance, and provide reliable operation of the water treatment plant. GWA did provide a proposed contract form for my review. That's the agreement between owner and contractor for construction contract. After completion of the procurement process and award of a contract, GWA will seek PUC approval for the final contract and the amounts to be awarded. An initial review of the contract indicates that it appears to contain the adequate provisions to protect the interests of GWA and the ratepayers. These include liquidated damages, performance and payment bonds, insurance requirements, mediation and claims resolution process, and termination for cause or convenience. Now, as to the cost, DCA's basic cost estimate was $4.2 million, but that didn't include a requested 10% contingency. In its cost estimate, DCA added a 10% contingency of $420,550, bringing the total estimated cost to $6.626. But I'm just providing you this for information. You don't really need to address cost at all tonight, because that really won't be before you until GWA comes back to the commission for authorization concerning the actual allowable cost. And of course, the cost from the procurement may be more, maybe less than the $4.6 million. We don't know at this time. When GWA returns, the PUC will make its determination concerning total allowable cost. The CCU did pass GWA Resolution 03-FY 2023, which found that the rehabilitation of the Ugam surface water treatment plant is necessary to ensure the efficient operation of the plant and continued provision of safe drinking water to GWA customers in Southern Guam. Based upon the documentation of the record, GWA has justified the issuance of an IFP to procure construction services and supplies to rehabilitate the Ugam plant. Having reviewed the petition of GWA, the procurement documents presented in the record herein, the ALJ recommends that the PUC should approve and authorize the issuance of the invitation for bid for the rehabilitation project. I have submitted a proposed order for consideration.
Thank you, Fred. Miguel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The surface water treatment plant is in need, as the report states, of significant rehabilitation.
In particular, its contract with JMI Edison for the purchase of anionic polymer and cationic polymer, and its contract with Total Chemical for the purchase of inorganic coagulant aluminum chlorohydrate, or ACH. Back in 2019, GWA issued an invitation for bid soliciting these chemicals to operate its wastewater treatment plants. Subsequently, the PUC authorized GWA to enter into these contracts with JMI Edison and with Total Chemical. Initially, the JMI Edison contract was approved for a 3-year term at a cost not to exceed $1,064,000. $53.53, and with Total Chemical for another 3-year term at a cost not to exceed about $2.6 million. Now, with both these contracts, there is an extension provision that provides for 2 1-year additional extensions subject to PUC approval. And in its petition, GWA is requesting authorization to exercise year-long option for both contracts since the initial 3-year term will expire at the end of December. As indicated in its petition, GWA seeks approval of the contract extensions because of its continued need to purchase these chemicals for its daily operation and maintenance of the Northern District, Agadia, and Agate Santa Rita wastewater treatment plants, and because it is required to use these chemically enhanced treatments at both the Northern District wastewater treatment plant and the Agadia wastewater treatment plant to remain in compliance with the November 11, 2011 court order issued in federal court. GWA submits that the cost for additional year for the GMI Edison contract is estimated at $392,000, and that the cost for the additional year with total chemical is estimated at $1.3 million. And they've also indicated to me that the cost for the contracts authorized in GWA docket 1911, which approved the contracts, have not yet been exceeded. These costs particularly include about $225,000 for a year's supply of cationic polymer, about $1.3 million per year for ACH, and about $137,000 per year for the anionic polymer. And as indicated in the report, these chemicals are widely used for the wastewater treatment and are absolutely indispensable and required for GWA's daily wastewater operations, and to keep GWA in compliance with federal laws, permits, and guidelines. And so on this record, Mr. Chairman, I recommended PC approval of the year-long contract extensions with GMI Edison and with Total Chemical for the amounts indicated in the report.
Thank you, Joe. Miguel, any comments?
No comments other than to say we really need it.
Any questions from the commissioners regarding this? Laura?
I didn't see a comparison in the cost, due to inflation. So did the cost go up because I'm expecting everything to go up. So, but I didn't see a comment on the inflationary effect.
So the costs did go up based on the information that GWA provided to me, but just by a little bit. You can slide to that.
When the PUC approved the contract back in 2019, the unit price for the anionic polymer was $1.09 per pound, and now it's $1.65 per pound. That was the ACH chemical. The anionic unit price at the time the contract was approved back in 2019 was $1.16. Today, it's a nominal increase of it's now $1.23. And the cationic polymer at the time the contract was approved in 2019 was $1.63 per unit, and today it's $1.85. So just really nominal increases.
There was a 60-minute thing I saw a couple of months ago, and I guess about a certain chemical, and I just don't remember what the chemical is, that had very dangerous finding now after many years of usage, that it has a very detrimental effect on the environment. So I guess, are these the standard type? Are there any more environmentally friendly, because you use this regularly? So
These chemicals have no adverse environmental impact for the manner in which we are going to use them. In fact, some of the chemicals are used in water treatment as well as wastewater treatment, so they're suitable for those purposes. What you may have been referring to, 60-minute segment that you watched, and which has been in the news recently, is the quote-unquote forever chemicals that are
EPA is probably gonna take a closer look at that.
Oh, okay, all right. So we're using, I guess, the
Safe-
most
safe chemicals.
this environmentally friendly chemicals that we can, that's on the market.
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Miguel, with the new northern wastewater treatment plant, I think you'd mentioned to me when we were doing a tour up there, somebody did that. As you get the biology in the sweet spot, you're probably gonna need fewer and fewer chemicals as time goes by. Is that correct?
That's correct. We will still need some of the polymers for the sludge process. When we
Mhm.
dewater the sludge to get polymers used for that, even within the biological oxidation process up in the Northern District.
Things rolling smooth up at the northern wastewater treatment plant?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I've talked to you before about this, but is your lab going either now or has the ability to look at things in the sewage to test for various viruses and bacteria, like COVID and flu and things of that nature?
We participated in the COVID wastewater surveillance when it was grant funded nationally. We were one of the utilities that participated, and we did see useful data coming out of that. We have since set up for continuing that now that it's not grant funded anymore. We did set up for that. We have the equipment, I believe we have the training for our folks to do it. What we have been waiting for is public health to believe in procuring some of the materials that are required for the sampling. So once that is available to us, then we will restart that program. For everything that there are laboratory kits to test for in terms of different diseases, we should be able to participate fully. I don't think the last one that we were asked about was maybe with the polio outbreak that was in the States. We could test for that. There wasn't a lab kit that was available for that.
Mhm.
So I think definitely COVID and those types of diseases can be checked.
How about monkeypox?
Yeah, I think we have that.
Yeah.
I think so.
Are you able to test for maybe the amount of drugs of various types in the community? Is that possible?
Not to my knowledge, that has not been something that I've read about,
Mm-hmm.
but I can check on it.
Okay. Just curious.
I'm sure the cannabis will be high. So I don't even know if you need to test for that anymore, but I do want to make one comment. Speaking of news, there was, I think it's in the eastern states somewhere, where they're now in the boil water service in Houston. So I want to thank you for keeping our water running. That's all.
Thank you. You're welcome.
They did have that many, many years ago, the boiled water.
Did we move on this motion?
Not yet.
Somebody
give me a motion.
I'll move to approve GSAW docket 2302.
There's a second. Joe seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, GWA, and have a very Merry Christmas.
We have to make this is the first meeting where Pedro has approved everything on the document.
No, actually, he's done this.
He's done this.
Yeah, he has done this. I think you might have done both.
So should
Right?
we,
Okay.
should we get a legislative resolution, just to honor him for that?
Yeah.
He told me he wanted to make every motion, so.
They got good presentation and they got comment.
That's right.
When it's
Go
not.
ahead, Miguel.
Thank you.
Okay.
Merry
Thank
Christmas
you.
to you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. That's it for this meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.